The Rams secure their first winning season since 2003 with the 32-16 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. This is Sam Farmer and Gary Klein. I'm Lindsay Theory for the Los Angeles Times. Sam, it's really hard to believe. A 4-12 team, now 9-3, and really heading into the sweet spot of their schedule against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it's stunning that they've turned this around. I thought 6 wins would be good. Now if they said before the season, hey, we'll be 9-7. I think everybody thought that'd be a success. If they said they're going to be 9-7 now, everyone would be despondent in that locker room because they aspire to so much more. The goal line keeps moving for this team.
Gary, it absolutely does keep moving, and for us, it keeps moving as we track the progress of Jared Goff and first-year coach Sean McVay. Now, it was a classic trap game. The Rams on a roll come to Arizona, who they shut out in London in October. And said it was an ugly game, but they do take care of business.
They did just enough offensively to win this game, but really, in terms of the details of what happened tonight,
we couldn't tell you.
Well, I'm just saying it's just not that important because all this was a milepost game for the Rams to get to next week against the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't trip up. They played like a good team does. They beat the team that they're supposed to. Goff was okay. The defense had a couple turnovers, and the special teams played well, so they're set up for their biggest test of the season.
Okay, so the Seahawks defeat the Eagles. Sam, help us sort this out. What does that mean right now for the Rams?
Well, either of those teams losing is good for the Rams. It would have been better had the Seahawks lost, better for the Rams' cause. But now, with the Eagles losing, that opens the door to the number 1 or number 2 seed because they play the Eagles next week.
Number 2 seed. We're talking about the playoffs here.
Yeah. So number 1 or number 2 seed, which would give the Rams a first-round bye and obviously a home playoff game after that in the divisional round. So it's still a lofty goal. The Rams have a long way to go. I think if they can win one of the next 3 games, whether that's beating the Eagles, beating the Seahawks, or beating the Titans, they'll be in really good shape to win the division, host a playoff game. But this is the pie-in-the-sky thing of maybe getting one of the top 2 seeds.
We were talking a few minutes ago about the Super Bowl. Anyways, putting that far out of our minds for a little bit, Gary, obviously we're not focusing too much on what happened here at the University of Phoenix Stadium because really they just needed to get the win and get on with it. But going up against the Eagles, it's going to be Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. And obviously that's going to be a really big battle between 2 quarterbacks, number 1 and number 2 pick in 2016. What do you think Jared Goff needs to improve on next week?
Well, I think he had the one mistake tonight the guy made a great play in intercepting a pass, but like anything, he's just going to have to avoid turnovers. This is a matchup that we've been waiting for since before the draft. I mean, Sam wrote a story about Jared Goff. I went to North Dakota and wrote a story about Carson Wentz when the Rams were trying to decide between the two. And now here they are. They're both playing well on teams that are winning. For the NFL, which has struggled with storylines the whole year with everything going on off the field, this is a marquee matchup.
Served up on a silver platter. Now, Sam, I know you went into the Cardinals locker room after the game today. Now you said, okay, you've played Carson Wentz, you've played Jared Goff. How do the two compare? What did they say?
They were saying that, Carson Wentz still is a little bit more of a commanding presence at the line of scrimmage. He's bigger, he's a tougher guy to bring down. They really like what Goff is doing. They like the way that Goff and Sean McVay are interacting, the way that Goff rushes up to the line of scrimmage, and before that 15-second cutoff, when his helmet cuts off, his helmet radio, Sean McVay is getting a really good look at that defense and can tell him where to direct traffic. So it's really helped him to have that sort of mentor there, and a guy who can really read defense as well like Sean McVay can. So Cardinals are very impressed by Goff, and definitely very impressed by Sean McVay.
Gary, post-game locker room for the Rams. I go up to Trumaine Johnson and said, Trumaine, can I ask you a question? He goes, what's it feel like to be 9-3? And I said, come on, Trumaine, that's a fair question. Because every week he seems to comment about what it's like to finally play for a winning team, a team that's getting it done. Todd Gurley, he said he was most excited for several staffers with the Rams who've spent years with the organization and have never won more than 8 games. What was your overall sense from talking with several players about what 9 wins means?
Well, I think for the veterans who've been around, Roger Saffold, Michael Brockers, those guys who've been around, they, on some level, I don't think they can really believe it because it's still new to them. Obviously, it's a feeling that they want to keep going, They believe in Sean McVay. They're buying everything he's saying. And so I think they just want to keep it going. As you mentioned, Gurley and everyone else associated with the organization who's lived through those losing years, this is something new. And you mentioned how we're talking Super Bowl, we're talking playoffs.
We're talking Super Bowl.
For the Rams and their personnel, both on the field and in the front office, this is something entirely new.
You know what I like about this team? This is sustainable. The underpinnings are there to sustain this success. You know, it's the second youngest team in the league. They don't have a skill position player over the age of 25. They need a left tackle. You know, they've got a 35-year-old left tackle, but they can find that in the draft, ideally for them. And they can sustain this. This isn't like one of those seasons where the ball bounces the right way every time.
Right.
These are big wins. They're hitting that 32 number every week. So you can see this being a formula that they could repeat.
So we'll temper those Super Bowl expectations for a minute. We're only halfway, joking on that. One quick injury update. Linebacker Alec Ogletree did injure his left elbow, who said it was not on that very unathletic-looking front flip into the end zone where he landed on his right side. However, no real update given on when they expect Alec Ogletree to return. All right, with Gary and Sam, I'm Lindsay. That's going to do it for us from Phoenix. We'll see you next week from Thousand Oaks, and of course, we'll be at the Coliseum when the Rams host the Philadelphia Eagles.